it's mandatory you're at these meetings. Most of these dudes aren't getting visits. They're just looking for somebody to pick on. You have to be at these meetings. I don't care if you get called for a visit. You deny it, you better be on the yard for the next meeting. Haters. Joe tells him, yo, if my wife comes to see me, I'm going to see my wife. Yeah. She comes up here with my kids, I'm going to see my kids. Facts. I'm not bucking that or turning that down to come out on the yard. It ain't no disrespect, but that's my wife and my kids. You better be on that yard next meeting. You better turn that visit down. Man, if it's that damn serious, man, pick another damn day to have a meeting.
Really the hottest nigga, you gon' respect this lava. I'm shooting it if I pull it, boy, make sure you want this drama. I bring it to you like it's Law and Order SVU. Turn you to a vegetable, now you look good inside a soup. Family come from Bishopville, but I grew up in that Bronx Zoo where they shoot you dead in the street and then dance all on top of you. And I do what I gotta do.
Started. Please don't get me started.
Now comes to a halt. Couple months go by, and we got this new dude in the pod named Little Joe. Little Joe was doing like 15 or 16 years, one of those two numbers, for a bunch of drug charges, gun charges. It was mostly guns. That's what he was doing time for. A small dude. Joe comes in. He really don't know nobody. Like most people that come into a new pod or on a new compound, he's trying to find out where he fits in. Younger guy. You already know, the AB dudes swoop in, dig their claws in him, and they start trying to teach him and school him to their bullshit. Joe goes and gets this tattoo on him that represents the AB for everybody to see. Now the dudes that were kicking it with Little Joe, that weren't AB affiliated, have fallen back from him. So now all he's got is a circle of these Aryan dudes, right? And like I said, for the most part, everything went back to normal. We went back to our normal living conditions. The beef was died down. These two groups of dudes just avoided each other as much as they could. You know, they would do things like stare over each other's direction, but when somebody would look, they'd turn their heads and look the other way. They started using Little Joe, and I liked Little Joe. Joe was a good dude.
Let me guess what he about to say. They start using Lil Joe like a doja. They about to get him into some shit that he wasn't even built for. He wanted protection, so he got down with the AB, and drama is about to ensue.
When I say I liked him, like he was actually a good person, but easily influenced.
Because he was soft.
Joe's wife would come up there every weekend, and Little Joe was exactly what his name described him as. He was a little dude. Joe was maybe 5'4", 140, 145 pounds. Short, small dude. His wife is 5'10", 5'11". She's a big block, diesel. I'm talking like big woman. You know what I mean? Like she could probably beat up 4 Little Joes if she wanted to.
Little Joe had a grenade.
Combination seeing
he had a grenade for a wife.
This girl loved Joe. She was always there every weekend.
She was loyal.
The Aryan dudes would continue to hold their meetings on the yard on the weekends like they had done when the fight popped off. And Joe would get called for a visit. Joe missed 3 or 4 meetings on the yard, so they come to Joe and they tell him, it's mandatory you're at these meetings. Most of these dudes aren't getting visits. They're just looking for somebody to pick on. You have to be at these meetings. I don't care if you get called for a visit. You deny it, you better be on the yard for the next meeting. Haters. Joe tells him, yo, if my wife comes to see me, I'm going to see my wife. Yeah. She comes up here with my kids, I'm going to see my kids.
Facts.
I'm not bucking that or turning that down to come out on the yard. It ain't no disrespect, but that's my wife and my kids. You better be on that yard next meeting. You better turn that visit down.
Man, if it's that damn serious, man, pick another damn day to have a meeting. The man can't, you know what I'm saying? The man can't see his wife and his children. This is why I made a story. See, this happens in prison in New York, and it was happening on Rikers Island, where I got a story that's detailing how the biggest haters, the most aggressive dudes, the biggest bullies are oftentimes the dudes that's the brokest and they have no real moral support. And the dudes that get hated on the most is the dudes who they may not necessarily be able to defend themselves on their own, but they got constant support. They get hated on the most.
no matter what, you better be out there when we're out there to discuss what we got to discuss. That weekend comes around before rec gets called. After we had lunchtime, after lunch we had rec, morning rec, and then at this point in time we had night rec. It's summertime. They called Joe for a visit. Right before they call Chow, they call lockdown. They call his name Joe, such and such. After count, you have a visit. I see Joe get his stuff. You know, he goes out to the ironing board and gets his clothes ready. After count, count clears. Guys are on standby to go to the chow hall and eat. Joe goes out with movement and goes over to the visiting room. The dudes are out on the yard. I'm out there that day. I believe it was summertime, blistering hot, dusty ass, dirty track. I'm walking this dusty ass, dirty track with my homeboys, just talking bullshit, you know, just doing what you would expect to do in prison. And I see all these dudes, and their numbers have now grown more than what they had before. And they're down at the same place they got the fighting at, and they're having their meeting. Little Joe's not there. He's over there with his wife, right? Joe would come back, and that evening, I can't remember if I was tattooing. Yeah, I was tattooing because I didn't go to night rec that night. After we came out at 5 o'clock count, you know, after that, they say stand by for rec. And then, you know, you wait. They pop the door. You go out the door. You go to the rec yard. Get your 2 hours of rec. Come back in, you know, around 8 something. They pop the cell doors, and we're on standby for rec. Dude comes down to my cell. I set up to start tattooing on him. And I hear all this commotion and all this chaos, right? I kind of, not being nosy, but just trying to be alert and aware. You know what I mean? Staying on guard. I need to know what's going on around me before I get started. Like, if somebody gets stabbed, or we about to go on lock. You know, I need to know what's happening before I shut the cell door, lock this dude in here, and start tattooing on him. I look, all the commotion is coming from Joe's cell. These dudes are in there so deep, and you got dudes blocking the door so you can't see, that you can't really tell who's even in there. It's just a herd of guys in the cell beating little Joe up, smashing Joe, stomping Joe, kicking Joe, right?
Bruh, as little Joe was, did he really deserve that? Did he really deserve that? Mind you, he done got the tattoo and the haircut to be down with them, be just like them. He basically signed up for other grown men to act like his daddy and tell him, you can't see your family. You got to come to this meeting to talk about a whole bunch of bull crap. If you watching this, my question is, why do people continue to join gangs? In every situation, it's the same way, bro. People above you, they think they better than you. They think they can tell you how to live your life. And if you don't listen to them, they're going to jump you or worse.
So this happens, takes place for a couple minutes, and they come on out the cell. And a short time later, you know, dudes have been going down there to check on Joe and see what's going on with him. But like I said, since he became AB, it's kind of off limits. Like, you got yourself in a situation, can't nobody mess with you. This is when I realized you don't always listen to the hype. Don't believe the stereotypes. People tried to put them bad bones on the 5%ers, say the 5%ers were racist, the 5%ers were this, were that. The main AB dude that had them jump Joe wanted their tattoo off Joe, because that's common with any type of gang. If you're not in the gang no more, the tattoo's got to go. It can be cut off, burned off, covered up. We don't care. We want to go. They're putting pressure on Joe about this tattoo in front of everybody. Carrying him, calling him names. He's all busted up, beat up. Eyes are swole up. He's sending a celly, you know, up front to get hot water.
Sad, bro. Sad, bro. All of that. He chose to represent y'all organization. He got the tattoo, everything. Just for y'all to tell him, y'all got a right to tell him that he can't go see his family. And if he go see his family, you're just going to beat the crap out of him. You're going to lump him up. Because he want to go see his family, kiss his wife, hug and kiss his kids. It's like, choose us over your family, your flesh and blood. It's ridiculous, bro. Gangs are trash.
can't even really come out the cell. These dudes are going to the cell just messing with Joe, still talking shit. Tell me why the 5% of dudes went down to Joe's cell and checked on him. I'm not sure of what the conversation consisted of, but whatever it was, when they were done, they came back from Joe's cell, stood in the middle of the pod, and told them dudes, if anybody so much as lays another finger on this young man or does anything else to him, you will not only deal with the 5%ers, you'll deal with the Muslims and all of our brothers, and we will wipe y'all out. First and only warning. He will cover the tattoo up when he wants to cover it up. It's garbage anyway. He'll get to it when he gets to it. But if anybody else tries to attack this man, y'all have to go through us. Now you're talking, there's a whole lot of these dudes standing there with their arms crossed in front of this little scared white dude's cell that wasn't long ago was part of a racist white gang. I guess in them talking to him, they realized that Joe was lost and was just looking for somebody to love him and somewhere to fit in.
Yeah, and protection. Yeah.
That was the end of that.
All right, man. That's the end of this story, man. I want to say shout out to Jay Williams. Let's Live Life channel. I like this brother a lot. Like I said, this is the first actual Jay Williams video that I watched all the way through to the end. I like this guy's storytelling. What's the word I'm looking for? I like his storytelling style. His messages were very clear for me to understand. I believe everything he said is authentic. If you ain't already subscribed to the Jay Williams channel, go ahead and subscribe to his channel, man. This has been Nate Almighty with another prison video reaction. Peace.